I was 8 when my father missed my piano recital for a golf game. I was 18 when he skipped my graduation. At 26, I bought him a $47,000 truck, and he called me an idiot who buys affection. My name is Ava Bennett. This is what I did next. La Jolla, a long table, white linen, the ocean behind glass. When the waiter set down the dessert plates, my father raised his glass. He smiled like a man about to deliver a joke. To my idiot daughter trying to buy love. The room froze. Forks hovered. Someone coughed and looked down. You could hear a spoon graze china, and then nothing. My sister Brooke exhaled through her nose like it was funny. Doug, my father's golf buddy, stared at his water. A woman I did not know folded her napkin twice and would not meet my eyes. I smiled. I stood. I tucked my chair back in with 2 fingers and walked out. I did not cry in the parking lot. I watched the lights on the valet stand blink red to green to red. I counted 10 breaths. I texted the dealer manager and asked if we were still within the window. Title not yet transferred. He wrote back in under a minute. If you bring it back pristine, we can reclass it as a showroom demo. I screenshotted the message and put my phone away. My name is Ava. I am 26. I do budgets for a living. I understand documents. I understand terms. I went home and set the key fob on my kitchen counter beside the receipt. I washed my face. I put my hair in a braid. I lay awake and watched a digital clock blink past midnight. At 5:40 a.m., I parked 2 houses down from my father's place. Sprinklers ticked across the lawn. The red bow on the hood sagged with dew. The neighborhood smelled like salt and wet grass. I did not knock. I did not think. I lifted the bow off the hood so it would not catch wind. I unlocked the door with the spare fob and slid into the seat. The cooling seats hummed to life like a joke on me. The engine caught on the first turn. I eased the truck out of the driveway and did not leave a track on the wet curb. Back at my apartment, I wiped the steering wheel with a clean towel. I vacuumed 1 crumb I found near the cup holder. I took photos from every angle. No dents, no scratches. Miles on the dash. Timestamp on my phone. I sent the pictures to the manager and asked when he wanted me there. He replied with a slot at 9. I made coffee and did not taste it. My hands were steady. My stomach was not. I opened the family chat to see if anyone had bothered to ask if I got home safe. Nothing yet. Then a new message popped in from an unknown number with a short clip. The thumbnail showed the neighbor's porch. A man in a blue blazer stood in the frame with Doug beside him. My father's voice came through before the image sharpened. Try it like this. To my idiot daughter. Let them laugh, Doug said. Are you sure? My father said, trust me. She will smile and take it. The timestamp at the top said 6:58 p.m., 1 hour before dinner. The clip ended with the awesome sound of the door closing and my father's laugh fading down the walkway. In the restaurant last night, I thought I had imagined the calculation in his eyes. I had not. He practiced the line. He tested the cadence. He chose me as the punchline before the soup left the kitchen. My phone buzzed again. The same clip appeared in the family chat. Sent by a contact I never expected to protect me. The message under it was 8 words. You should see what he planned after that. If any part of this stings, stay with me. You might hear yourself in my story. By noon, my call log showed 31 missed calls. Dad, Brooke, unknown numbers that looked like relatives. I put the phone face down and tried to eat a piece of toast. It tasted like cardboard. The doubt slid in anyway. Am I overreacting? Did I make a scene by leaving? Did I make it worse by taking the truck back? I picked up the phone and hit play on the doorbell clip again. The blazer, the porch light. Doug's uneasy voice. My father testing the line like a comedian working a bit. Try it like this. To my idiot daughter. Let them laugh. The laugh at the end was not nervous. It was pleased. The doubt faded. I was not overreacting. I was responding. A text from Miles arrived under the clip. I saw what he did last night. I am sorry. Miles is my cousin. When we were kids, he let me borrow his bike and never asked for it back. At Thanksgiving 3 years ago, Dad called him a leech in front of the cousins because Miles had asked for a short loan during a layoff. He paid it back by Christmas, and Dad still brought it up at Easter. Miles has always been the one who checks on me after the shouting stops. He wrote, "I have more. Call when you can." I called. He picked up on the first ring. No small talk. He said Jake sent the rehearsal clip to him first. He said Jake had questions and did not trust anyone else in the family. Miles forwarded screenshots from a group chat I had never seen. The thread name was Saturday Plans. The avatars were Dad, Brooke, and Doug. At the top of the thread was a line from Dad. "We open with the toast. Keep it light. Then I ask for a quick bridge this week. 2 or 3 weeks max. She will say yes in front of people." Brooke replied with a heart. Doug sent a thumbs up. The date stamp was 2 days before the dinner. My throat tightened. They had not only rehearsed a joke, they had written a script. I opened Facebook against my better judgment. Dad had posted a photo of the empty driveway. He stood in the frame with a coffee mug and a wounded look. The caption read, "Sometimes tough love is love." The comments rolled in. She should respect her father. Kids today buy status, not love. Real men joke with their daughters. A few people asked for context. Brooke added a laughing face and wrote, "She will cool off." I wanted to answer all of them. I closed the app instead. I took 3 photos of the post with time and date in the frame and dropped them into a folder called Evidence. Miles texted again. "Jake wants to talk to you directly." I asked why Jake had the doorbell clip. He said Jake handles Brooke's smart home stuff. He said Jake had been saving things in case he needed them one day. That made me pause. In case he needed them. Needed them for what? I asked if Brooke knew. Miles said no. He said Jake looked scared at the dinner and left early. He said Jake messaged him after midnight and asked if I was safe. My phone buzzed with a new contact card. Jake Reed. I stared at the name longer than I should have. My sister picks men who look good in photos. She does not pick men who pick fights with Dad. I typed, "This is Ava," and hit send. The typing dots appeared and disappeared twice. Then a long message came in. I sent the clip because he is doing the same thing to Brooke. He is pushing her to move her savings into his deal. He tells her it is only for a week. I have watched him delete bills and hide mail. I cannot watch it anymore. I read it twice. I felt my jaw set. I asked what else he had and why he trusted me. He replied in one line. "There is more you need to see tonight." By day 3, I had a folder named Evidence, a second one named Money, and a new contact in my phone. Harper Lawson, attorney. I told her the story in plain order. The dinner, the toast, the rehearsal clip, the Facebook post, the comments, the group chat about a quick bridge. She did not gasp. She asked for files. I sent everything with timestamps. Harper said, "We start with a formal warning letter from my lawyer." Not to be dramatic, to make the record clear. She said it does 3 things. It tells him to stop false statements. It tells him to preserve all evidence. It creates a paper trail for platforms and for HR at any group that pays him to speak. She drafted it in under an hour. It was 1 page. Direct. No insults. No heat. She copied me and hit send. Then she told me to report the post. She said use the platform's own words. Harassment, defamation, abuse. I filled the form line by line. I pasted the link to the post. I attached screenshots with dates. I wrote what happened and when. I asked for removal and for a note back. When I clicked submit, the page gave me a ticket ID. I saved it in Evidence. I turned to camera on my laptop and spoke to the quiet of my living room. If someone lies about you online, do 3 things now. 1. Screenshot everything with timestamps and the full URL bar visible. 2. Ask a lawyer to send a formal warning letter and request that all evidence be preserved, including messages and drafts. 3. Report the post to the platform and cite their policy by name. Save the ticket ID and every email you get back. If you are older, ask a trusted person to help you click through. Keep a written log of dates. Harper called again. She wanted every card tied to my name. I opened my bank app and read off the last 4 digits. She asked about any emergency cards for a parent. I said no, then stopped. A memory landed hard. 19, community college. Dad and I at a car insurance office. He slid a single page across the counter. He said it was an insurance add-on. He said, "Sign here so I can take care of you if anything happens." I signed without reading because he was smiling at the agent and calling me kiddo. I felt my face heat. I told Harper about that day. She asked for my permission to speak with the bank fraud team. I said yes. An hour later, she called back with a tone I had not heard from her yet. She said an emergency card had been created from that old signature. It was tied to my profile. It had a recent decline, $184.73. Then another retry for the same amount. Same merchant type as groceries. Same zip code as my father. I felt a cold line run from my neck to my stomach. I asked how a clerk could use a signature from years ago. Harper said old paper opens modern doors if no one closes them. She said we would close them now. She asked me to pull my credit reports and freeze them. She walked me through the screens. I placed 3 freezes. I set fraud alerts. I set text alerts for any charge over $50. While we set locks, my phone buzzed with an automated email. Bank security had flagged a pattern and wanted a sworn statement. They attached a form. The subject line read, "Identity Misuse Review." Harper told me to print it, fill it, and scan it back before end of day. She said the faster I swore to the facts, the faster they could trace the card path and shut it down. I printed the form and stared at the top line. Name, address, date. I wrote slowly so I would not shake. I listed the date of the dinner. I listed the date of the post. I listed the 2 charges, $184.73, twice. I signed at the bottom and felt something settle. Not peace, direction. Then my bank app flashed again. A banner slid across the top of the screen. A new attempt had hit a different card I had forgotten existed. It was the same amount, $184.73. The bank asked me to pick up the phone. They wanted my voice, not my signature. Week 2, I called my mother before I touched another bank form. Eugene, Oregon. Wind on the line. She said my name like she was steady, and then her voice cracked. "Honey, he sent this the day after I filed." Paper rustled. She read it slow so I could hear every nail. "Push custody, and I will make sure you never teach in this town again." I did not speak for a full 10 seconds. My mother has taught the same course for 20 years. Business ethics. She said, "I saved everything because I knew one day you might need to see the pattern, not just the event." I thanked her and asked for the archive. She forwarded a folder with dates, email headers, and a short note in the body of each message that said saved. I dragged the folder into evidence and labeled it Eugene. If you are keeping track with me, this is why we save receipts. Stories fade. Files do not. By afternoon, my phone lit up with a tag. My father had posted a hospital selfie. Wristband, gown, hand on chest for the camera. He tagged me by name and wrote, "Stress from family betrayal." I took 3 screenshots with the full URL in view and the clock bar on top. Then I closed the app. I would not help his play count. An email landed from Coastal Leadership Council within the hour. Subject line, Inquiry regarding public conduct. They wrote in clean corporate lines. As a paid speaker, you are bound by the Council's Code of Conduct. The sections on respect and non-harassment prohibit public harassment, defamation, and abusive or demeaning speech toward family members. Tagging a family member in a disparaging context may heighten the severity. We request any relevant context. I read it twice, not with joy, with relief. Someone else could see the shape of it. I called Harper and forwarded the message. She said we answer once with facts only. Screenshots, dates, links, ticket ID from the platform report. She reminded me to include a short statement of impact in plain language, not legal phrases. Real life. I wrote, his post caused people to contact my workplace and question my mental health. I added the ticket number from my removal request and the time the selfie went live. I attached the hospital photo with the tag visible and the caption intact. Harper added a simple line at the end. We ask that you preserve all materials related to this inquiry, including drafts, deleted posts, and internal messages. Then she hit send. My mother called again as the sun dropped behind the palms. She said, "Are you eating?" I said yes, even though it was coffee and crackers. She asked if I had a plan for tonight. I told her I was going to lay out clothes for an HR interview I did not have yet. She laughed once in a small way I had not heard since I was a kid. She said, "You were born making lists." I said, "He made me need them." I opened the Code of Conduct link in the Council's footer and read it like a budget sheet. Plain terms. No jargon. This is the part worth knowing if you ever deal with a public figure who hurts you, in public. Many organizations hold their speakers and mentors to rules that extend beyond the stage. If they demean family online, that can trigger review. Screenshots matter. Timestamps matter. Tags matter more than captions because they link you. When you send evidence, keep it short, date it, and keep a copy of what you sent. At 7:12 p.m., a new email arrived from the Council's HR address. Subject line, Case opened. The body was precise. We are opening an internal case to review potential violations under respect and non-harassment. Please provide your chain of custody for all evidence. Include where each file came from, when you captured it, and how you stored it. We would like to schedule a 30-minute interview this week. Suggested times follow. Chain of custody. I looked at my desktop and saw a grid of proof. Doorbell clip, group chat screenshots, hospital post with tag. The email to my mother from years ago. I made a quick index in a text file. 01 rehearsal video. Source Jake Reed. Sent day 1. Saved to evidence. Checksum auto by cloud. 02 group chat images. Source Miles. Saved day 1. 03 Facebook selfie. Captured by me. Day 9. URL and clock visible. Ear 4 divorce threat email. Source Mom. Forwarded day 10. Headers intact. I picked a time for the interview and hit confirm. Then I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling fan. I asked the room a simple question. If your piece cost you your family's approval, would you pay it? My laptop pinged again. The HR signature block slid into view with a calendar invite. Under it was one more line I had not expected. We have notified Mr. Bennett of the review. He has been asked to refrain from all public commentary until it concludes. We will follow up after your interview. I closed my eyes and exhaled. The fan kept turning. The house was quiet. Somewhere, for the first time, he could not speak without someone else watching. North Park, late morning. I sat with a black coffee and a notebook I wasn't using. At the next table, 2 women in their 60s whispered over a pile of bills. One said, "He put me on a joint card to help with groceries, then cleared out my pension." The other said, "My daughter's husband forwards my mail to his place." They both laughed the way people laugh when crying would drown them. I stared at the foam ring in my cup and felt heat rise in my chest. I stood, walked over, and said, "I teach budgets. I can help if you want." They looked at each other, then back at me. One nodded. That is how the workshop started. I booked a room at the library for Saturday morning. I printed a one-page checklist. I kept the tone simple. No jargon. We filled all 8 chairs. The first to speak was Marie, 68, soft cardigan and steady eyes. She said her nephew helped her set up a joint card after her husband died. He said it would make returns easier. 3 months later, her checking account looked like a sink with a slow leak. 30 here, 49 there, then a $600 charge at a store she had never entered. When she asked questions, the nephew raised his voice and told her she was forgetting things again. We worked the steps together. Freeze first. I guided her through all 3 credit bureaus on my laptop. We added fraud alerts. We called the card issuer and filed a fraud affidavit. We set her Social Security account to require a mailed PIN before any change. We turned on text alerts for any purchase over $50. Marie's mouth trembled when the bank rep said they saw a pattern they could reverse. She covered the phone and whispered, "I am not crazy." I said, "No, you are not." I turned to the camera on a small tripod and gave 60 seconds for the people who would never sit in this room. If you are over 65, do these 3 things this week. 1. Keep paper statements coming to your house. Review them with a pen. Put a dot next to any charge you do not know. 2. Turn on phone alerts for your cards and your checking account. Set them to ping you for anything over $50. If you do not text, ask a trusted friend to receive them, but do not choose someone who will inherit from you. 3. Place a free credit freeze at Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. A freeze is a lock. You can lift it when you need credit. It keeps strangers from opening accounts in your name. If this feels like a lot, do 1 step each day. Put the dates on your fridge. Between sessions, my phone buzzed with news I did not expect to feel the way it did. County Mentor Program paused my father's monthly talk. The downtown Rotary Leadership Luncheon put his keynote on hold, pending review. Their emails were brief and dry. I felt no victory. I felt air entering places in my ribs that had been tight for years. Jake texted during a break. He asked if we could talk outside. We met by the fountain behind the library. He looked tired in a way sunglasses cannot hide. He said he leaked the doorbell clip because he had watched my father work the same play on Brooke. First came the compliments. Then came a plan. A 1-week bridge from her savings into a deal he promised would pay back by Friday. He showed me a photo of a stack of mail he had pulled from under a couch cushion. Electric bill, HOA notice, a late fee. He said Brooke thought everything was fine because the app showed autopay. He said my father had set the settings to hide past due notices. He said, "I cannot watch it anymore." I believed him, not because of the words, because of the small shake in his hand when he handed me the envelopes. I told him to keep copies and send me scans. I told him to ask Brooke to meet me without Dad there. He nodded and said he would try. He asked if I was safe. I said I was working on it. The workshop wrapped at noon. Marie hugged me at the door. She smelled like lavender and paper. I packed the tripod and the stack of checklists. The room felt lighter than when we walked in. Outside, sun hit the sidewalk like a clean sheet. My phone vibrated with a hotel app banner I forgot I had turned on. Guest waiting in the lobby. I tapped the alert and saw the name the front desk had typed in. My father. The sidewalk outside the hotel held the day's last heat. Shadows stretched from the awning to the curb. He stood near the revolving door with his arms folded and his sunglasses on. He looked like a man waiting for a ride, not a father who had tagged his daughter in a hospital selfie. I stopped 2 steps short. He took off the glasses and tried a smile I used to fall for. If you love me, you'll help me keep the house. If you loved me, you wouldn't have humiliated me in front of 40 people. He blinked twice. He set his jaw like he did at Little League when an umpire called a strike he did not like. It was a joke. You're sensitive. You rehearsed it. I heard the practice. A couple walked past us with rolling bags. The bellman looked over and then looked away. My father lifted his chin and lowered his voice like we were in on a secret. He said he had been stressed. He said the hospital visit was real. He said the bills piled up during a slow quarter. He said Brooke misunderstood everything. He said I had always been good at numbers, and he needed me to come through. He reached for my elbow. I stepped back. I will apologize, he said, quiet and quick. But not in public. I will call you tonight and say the words you want. Wire me what you can. We will fix this as a family. There it was. A conditional apology with a receipt attached. Here is the sentence people will argue with me about. I know foreclosure hurts. But saving his house meant losing myself. I told him no. Not with heat. With air. I said I would not wire money. I said any apology that needed a transfer did not count. I said he could ask for help from a bank or a counselor or a mirror, but not from me. He stared at me like I was a stranger who had stolen his name tag. Then he put his sunglasses back on and said only this. You will regret this. He turned toward the valet. I watched him speak to no one, then walk into the street against the light. I went upstairs and washed my hands that did not feel dirty. I ate half a protein bar. I set my phone face down and tried to finish a slide for the morning session. At 9:18 p.m., the building intercom buzzed. A courier stood in the camera frame holding a flat envelope. I signed at the desk and opened it under a lamp. The letter had a seal at the top and a name that looked like a firm. The body was short and aggressive. Demand return of vehicle and $7,900 in damages. It gave me 5 days. It threatened further action. It did not list a state bar number. It did not include a signature you could read. I took photos of every page. I texted Harper and asked if she could talk. She called within minutes. I read the header and the return address. She told me to hold while she looked. I heard keys tapping fast. She came back with new weight in her tone. The firm was not a firm. It was a debt collector using a mail drop and a name that sounded like a lawyer. Federal law says you cannot pretend to be a law office to collect. He hired someone to scare you, Harper said. That is another violation. She told me what to do next. We would draft a response package with our timeline, with the dealer email that proved the truck never left my name, with the platform ticket number, with the hospital selfie where he tagged me. We would file complaints with the state bar and the federal agency that polices collectors. We would send a preservation request to the mail drop and demand their client's identity in writing. I hung up and laid the pages in a grid on the desk. I labeled each in pencil. I slid them into clear sleeves and added them to the binder called Boundary. I thought about the word family and how often it is used like a set of handcuffs. Harper's email dinged. Subject line, draft response pack. She wanted me at her office at 9. She wanted originals and my chain of custody list. I zipped the binder shut and set it by the door. The intercom buzzed again. A different voice, a different envelope, a new name on the label. Harper sent the rebuttal on a Tuesday morning. Subject line, response with exhibits. The first page was clean and cold. She set the facts in order. The attached email from the dealership manager confirmed the truck had remained in my name at all times and was reclassified as a showroom demo upon return. The manager's timestamp matched my photos. Mileage matched. The spare fob was listed to me. No transfer, no gift completed, no damages to claim. Harper CC'd the address on the fake firm letter and the real client she traced behind it. An hour later, the platform replied to my report. The hospital selfie with the tag came down. The post vanished like it had never existed. I still had the screenshots. I still had the ticket ID. I wrote the resolution time next to the entry in my evidence index. Learned habit. Write it down so you do not have to remember it. By noon, I was in a video call with the council's HR team. 2 managers, 1 compliance officer. They thanked me for the chain of custody. They said the review had been formally opened after 3 staff filed independent reports, referencing the post where he tagged me. They said the tag made it work-related because it invited the public into a conflict tied to a paid representative of their program. They asked one last time if my screenshots were unedited. I said yes. They asked if I would be willing to sign a short statement. I said yes. Plain words, no adjectives. That is the only way I know how to talk now. After the call, I walked to the sink and let cold water run over my wrists. My phone lit up with a number I did not have. A young voice introduced himself as a former mentee of my father. He said he had watched my workshop clip on a friend's phone. He asked if he could send me something. I said yes, and braced for nothing. What arrived made the room feel smaller. First came screenshots. Green bubbles. My father's contact name at the top. The texts were months old. He wrote, "Ava was always the big one. She should thank me for telling the truth." Then a link to my workshop. Then another line. "She gets attention by playing victim. People eat that up." I stared until the words blurred. The mentee asked if I needed audio too. I said, "Send whatever you have." The voice memo played through my earbuds. My father's tone was casual, like a man leaning back in a chair. "Ava's playing therapist now. Teaching old ladies to hate their families. It's cute. Sad, but cute." A laugh followed that did not belong to him. Another man in the room agreed. I paused the clip and felt a hard, quiet move through me. I saved the file to Boundary and wrote the source name in my index. I asked the mentee for permission to share it with HR. He said yes. He said he was tired of watching lines get crossed. Then the twist arrived. A PDF of a calendar invite and an outline for a paid talk. Title: Navigating Family Conflict for High Performers. Under the bullet points was a line that made my throat close. Open with current family drama. Use hospital scare as an empathy bridge. Close with forgiveness theme. The fee was circled. The memo field said invoice upon applause. The mentee said my father bragged that conflict boosted attention for his brand. The memo matched his brag. I forwarded the texts, the audio, and the outline to Harper. I sent copies to the council's HR address with the case number in the subject line. I did not add commentary. The files spoke. Harper called and told me I had done enough for one day. She told me to eat. I made eggs and could not taste them. I sat on the floor with my back to the couch and listened to my building settle. My phone buzzed with a text from a name I knew too well. "You win. Bravo." No punctuation, no apology. I did not reply. I took a screenshot and saved it to Boundary. I added one line to my index. Week 7. Final text. Saved with date and time. Then I looked at the door. Tomorrow, I would need a clean shirt. Tomorrow, we would finish the response pack. Week 12 felt ordinary in the best way. Saturday, folding chairs, a whiteboard with 3 bullet points, a tub of pens in a plastic bin. The library room filled before 10. People came early now. They brought folders, pill bottles, questions written on index cards. I took attendance with a nod and a smile. No speeches, no music, just work. We started with wins. A man in a denim jacket said he stopped a grandchild from adding him to a shopping app. A woman with a cane said she called her bank and asked them to lower a fee. Then Sarah stood. 72. Gray bob. Clean blue sweater. She took a breath and looked straight at me. "Because of you, I closed a card at 28% interest my son tricked me into opening." No tremor, no apology. The room went still in the right way. I asked if she wanted to share how she did it. She held up a sheet I had printed 5 weeks ago. Freeze alerts, advocate, log. She pointed to the margin where she had written dates. She said she called the issuer and told a supervisor she had a fraud concern and needed a hardship review. She said she asked them to read back the day the card was opened and the IP address if they had it. She said the supervisor put her on hold and came back and offered to close it with no penalty and reverse 2 months of interest. She sat down and folded her hands. People clapped like they were careful not to scare the moment away. We moved through the hour. We practiced how to say no without explaining. We role-played how to tell a relative that money conversations only happen in writing. We wrote scripts and kept them short. I cannot do that. That does not work for me. Please put your request in an email. Simple is strong. Strong is kind. Between questions, I caught myself scanning the door the way I used to scan my phone. Old reflex. New life. I do not chase shadows anymore. I do not wait for a man to decide who I am. I choose quiet over applause. I choose clean over impressive. I turned to the small tripod and gave the same 2 sentences I give every week. Ask yourself whose approval you're buying and what you reclaim when you stop paying. If you need help, search financial abuse hotline in your area. There are people who will answer. After class, I wiped the whiteboard and stacked the chairs. Sarah stopped by the table and pressed a note into my hand. Lunch sometime, it said, and a phone number. I told her yes, not someday. Soon. She laughed and said she would hold me to it. I walked out into sun and noise. Kids ran between the fountain jets. A dog shook water on my jeans. My phone buzzed with a new email, and I almost ignored it. The subject line held my father's last name. I opened it on the steps. It was from the council. 1 paragraph. He resigned, effective immediately. Thank you for your cooperation during the review. No commentary, no spin, just the fact. I read it twice. Not with satisfaction, not with guilt. Just quiet. Relief. Without celebration. Air without weight. I forwarded it to my lawyer and filed it in a folder named Closed. Then I slid the phone into my bag and went to the corner store for markers and granola bars for next week's session. On the walk back, I passed a father teaching a little girl to ride a bike. He trotted behind her with 2 fingers on the seat and said, "You're doing it. Keep going." She looked forward and laughed. I felt something settle in me that had nothing to do with him. At home, I set out 8 clean folders and printed 8 new checklists. I wrote the date at the top of each. I brewed coffee and put a pot of tea on for whoever wanted it. Ordinary prep for an ordinary class. The kind that keeps a life running when big stories end. Before bed, I stood at the window and watched the street go soft. I thought about the word peace. It is not empty. It is full. It is full of choices you make when no one is watching, like who to call, what to keep, and when to say no. It is also full of people. Sarah with her blue sweater, Marie with her lavender, the room of chairs and pens again when they get lost. I turned off the lamp. Tomorrow I will teach the same steps again. Different names, same math, quiet, and enough.